Okay, in this video we're going to perform the first search through an array to find a value, right? It's very useful. We look through arrays to find certain things, right? So let's first create an array. I'll call it int numbers, right? We'll say it's an array, and we will even put some values into that, right? 2, 5, 3, 22, 55, right? I'm just going to put some values into an array. Okay. And then I'm going to call a method that searches the array, right? So let's do that. Int index, where where it's going to be located in the array, and I'll say, index equals find number, or let's call it search array, right? And I'll pass it the array numbers, and I'll pass it the number I want to look for. So let's say I want to look for 22, right? Okay. Now let's print out where it is, right? 22 was found in position, right, plus index. Okay, so everything looks good so far, except I don't have my method that's called search array, so we need to write that. So it's public. I'll make it public. Static. It's going to return a value. It's going to return an integer, which is the position in the array, right? And it's called search array, and it takes an integer array, and I'm going to call it n here. It's easier to reference, right? N takes an integer array n, and it also takes some key that I'm looking for, right? And here's my method, right? Okay. So for search array to work, we need to look through all the elements in the array and find the key. So we're going to look for the key in all the elements of this array. So the most straightforward search is just to look one by one at every element in the array and see if it's equal to that key. So how could I do that, right? I could say for int I equals 0, right? I is less than n.length. Remember, .length finds out how many elements are in an array. And I plus plus, right? And for each element, I'm just going to say if, n bracket I equals the key, right? If it does equal the key, I'm just going to return that value. Return I, right? Back. Now, if I make it all the way through this loop, I exit out of this loop, and it never returned from this method, that means I never found it. So what am I going to do? I need to return something back that says it wasn't found. And one way to do that is I'll return a -1 back to the calling method, right? So now we have our method. The only thing I forgot up here with key, I didn't really say what type it was. It's an integer, right? So I had those errors there. So let's think about what's going on here. I'm going through the entire array from 0 to the length. I'm checking to see if the array value equals the key, which is this is the key, which is what I'm looking for. And if it does find it, it returns the index in the array. And if it makes it all the way through that loop, right, it goes through all that stuff and it doesn't find it, then I'm going to return a -1, right? So when I'm searching this array in main here, right, and I'm searching numbers array, which is this up here, looking for number 22, it's going to first check it against the 2, then the 5, then the 3, and then it's going to find it here. And this element is the 0, 1 to the third element. So this print line should print out that it found it in the third element of the array. And sure enough, it says 22 was found in position 3, right? And if I change this, let's say I made 22 223, right? And got rid of this one, right? 212. Now it should look through the entire array, not find the 22, and it should say it was found in position -1, which really isn't true, right? So what I'd really want to do is I would want to say if index doesn't equal -1, then I want to print this, right? Else, that 22 was not found in the array, right? I could do that. And if I run it, right, 22 was not found in the array. If I put 22 back into the array somewhere, like there, and run it again, now it says 22 was found in position 3, which it was, 0, 1, 2, 3. Again, this is a sequential search. And sequential search just means that we are going one by one through the array looking for the key. Now, this could be a really efficient search if the number you're looking for is at the beginning of the array. It's really efficient, right? What if it were the first element? I would only have to look at one element. I found it. I'm done. However, if the 22 is the last element in the array, and our array is 1,000,000 integers, then this is a really ineffective way of searching an array. However, it's one of the most straightforward to write and to think about.